This video is focused on the scorekeeper's role for sparring in the tournament system. Rules: continuous sparring as per the current ITF rules and regulations. Corner ring judges will capture points scored via clickers. Note, for a small number of divisions, we will also be scoring via electronic devices in place of clickers. These electronic devices will show scoring real time from each of the corner judges, and a separate video will share the electronic scoring instructions and approach. Prior to each division match starting, compare the paper bracket you are scoring with the online version of the bracket by selecting the down arrow at the top right-hand corner and then selecting View Draw. Both the paper copy and the online copy should match the name of the division, the number of competitors, the number of matches, and the competitors in each match. If the paper copy of the division draw and the online version do not match, contact Mrs. Wynn or myself, Mrs. Reitz, and we will resolve. If both online and paper draw copies match, hit the close button and proceed to the next step for that division. Next, for each division, the scorekeeper will need to check the appropriate time is set up prior to the start of the match. Review the title of the division at the top of the scoring template, and based on the division and the age, ensure the number of rounds, the match time, the rest time between rounds if there are multiple rounds, and the extension time in case of draws is set appropriately. To minimize disruption, the tournament committee will schedule similar divisions from color belt younger age group to older age color belt groups to black belts to minimize changes for the scorekeepers. Length of rounds. For color belts 13 and under, there will be one 1-minute round. For color belts age 14 and over, there will be one round of 1.5 minutes. For all black belts, there will be one 2-minute round. Notice that as we change the time for the match, the time on the clock automatically gets updated. In addition, when we change the number of rounds, the number of rounds will also be updated by the clock, because the clock will keep track of what round you are on. Okay, so for black belts, where we are in a final round match, so from a draw, we'll go back to this draw real quick, and where these matches say final, they will be updated to say final. Here, we have a change. This is where we're going to have two 2-minute rounds with a 1-minute rest between the rounds. So this rest time functionality is used when there is a known multiple set of rounds, and the rest time will automatically kick in after the clock ends for that match round. The timer will run for the round time, in this case, 2 minutes. There will be a gong. Then the rest time will start for 1 minute. There will be a gong. Then the start round 2 timer will start, and when that finishes it will gong. The rest time functionality will only be used for black belt final rounds matches and for team sparring. So let's talk about team sparring. So for team sparring, there's going to be 5 rounds. So we would set this timer, this round count to 5, and there will be 2-minute matches with a 1-minute rest between rounds. Each team will select an opponent to match up for that round. At the end of the round, the team member who won that round will be awarded 1 point to the team for that round using the up arrows in the team wins box. So in this case, let's say first match occurs and we're going to give the win to the teddy bear team. And let's say in the next 2 matches, the Tommy Tom team has wins. Okay, matches are going to be progressed until all team members have completed the matches. In case there is a draw for that match round and competitors are tied, there will be a draw round. The draw round will have the same time for the regular match round with a rest period of 1 minute. And I'm going to go ahead and reset these before we continue further. I'm going to go back to 1 minute and 1 minute. All right. So scoring template functionality in case of a draw. Extension time is used in case of a draw and another round needs to occur. The extension time is the time for the additional match and should match the original match time. The extension time will automatically update to the same time as the round time when the round time is changed. So for example, if I change this to 2 minutes, it automatically changes it to 2 minutes. We're going to change it back to a minute. And then the clock time also automatically changes. Before starting the extension time for a draw round, the clock period of rest for the competitors will need to be started. To set the time between the original match and the extension, set the clock at the far left to 1 minute and then hit start. This button here. When that time is over and you are ready to start the extension match, you will select extension and you will hit start. If after the draw match, competitors are tied, there will be a sudden death match. The first competitor to score a point wins the match. The rest time between any draw match and sudden death is also 1 minute. Use the clock to the left again to give competitors time to rest for 1 minute. Then, keeping the extension functionality checked for the last round and hit start. All right, so we're going to change focus a little bit and we are going to talk about starting the match. So to start the match, hit the start button and the timer will begin and you can see the timer counting down. If the center referee calls timeout for a particular reason, you can hit the stop button and you'll notice the clock stops. Hit the start button again to restart the time. The timer is set for an automatic gong at the end of the time for that round and or match. Capture any warnings for the competitors by using the up arrows above the warnings text. So you would capture warnings for the red fighter here and warnings for the blue fighter here using the up arrows. If you make a mistake, you can just use the down arrows to correct. If the center judge awards a minus point to a fighter, you can also capture that minus point for the red fighter to the left using these big arrows and this down arrow here. So that would be a minus point for the red fighter. And if you had minus points for the blue fighter, you would use the down arrow there in the big boxes. So to recap, the warnings will be captured using the up and down arrows in the warnings box. And then the minus points from the center judge where a major foul has occurred will be captured using the down arrows with the large scoring screen. At the end of the match, the scorekeeper will announce red fighter, number of warnings, and minus points. So in this case, you would say red fighter, 1 warning, 2 minus points. For the blue fighter, you would also say blue fighter, 1 warning, 1 minus points. If there are no warning points or no minus points, then no announcement needs to be made. Only announce if there are warnings and minus points. Scoring adjustments for warning and minus points. So the corner refs will make adjustments to their clicker scores based on the warnings and the center ref minus points. So for example, if there are 3 warnings for a fighter, then that corner judge would deduct 1 minus point from the score that they have for that fighter. Warning minus points only impact the scoring points credited to a competitor from the corner judge. Warning points will not cause a competitor to be disqualified. If a fighter has received 3 minus points for major fouls, so this count would be 3 from the judge, then that is a disqualification. And then you would select this DNS box. And when you select that, it'll ask you to pick which fighter. The corner judges should apply any minus points and warnings and then select the winner of that match for the corner judge. The corner judge will raise a colored flag tied to the clicker showing which competitor won the match. Count the clickers for each fighter. If the corner judge determines it's a draw, then they will raise hands crossed indicating it's a draw. Draws add 0 points to each competitor's score. The scorekeeper will then capture each of the ring judges' corners winners. For example, if 3 out of the 4 judges said red hung, and the 4th judge said 1 point for the blue fighter, then it would be 3-1. And then also ensure that you then zero out the warnings. If after the round requirements for the division are complete and 2 judges determine that Hung is the winner and 2 judges determine Chung is the winner, then the match is a draw. Then neither fight has won the match. If it is a draw, then additional time will need to be put on the clock for the fighters to rest. So the additional time would be put over here. So let's say they need a minute to rest. And then we will use the extend functionality. So we would, after the time is rested, we would hit extend and then hit start. And the fighters would continue. So next, we would make sure before you start that next round that we've zeroed out any minus points or warnings for the draw round. After the rest time is completed for the draw round to start, select the extension box and hit start. If there's a draw again, clear any warnings or minus points. Then set the time to 1 minute rest between the draw round and sudden death round. Once complete, select the extension of round time and hit start. The first competitor to score a point wins the match. If a competitor gets disqualified for any reason, again, select the DNS button. A window will appear and you can select which fighter's DNS. Once a winner is determined, you will update the paper copy of the detailed bracket sheets with the winning fighter and then the online version by selecting either Hung wins or Chung wins. The next match, which is down below, will automatically rotate up to be scored. If the division is complete in the system, it'll rotate to the next division to be scored in the ring. So let's take a look at an example, and let's zero everything out. So we're gonna pretend this is a beginning of a match. And so this is zeroed out. We know this is black belts. So we know from our rules that black belts are 1 2-minute. We have 1 2-minute round. There are not multiple rounds. This is not a final round, so the rest time will not be used. Extension time is set automatically, just in case we need to. And so we're going to go through and we are going to now start the clock for the round. So Teddy Bear and Tommy Tommy are going at it. And as we go through, we're saying, hey, wait a second. Okay, fighter stepped out of bounds. So we're going to give a warning to Teddy Bear. It's Tommy Tommy's forcing Teddy out of bounds. We're going to continue the match and they're going to continue fighting. And as we go forward, let me show you the audience view while they're continuing to fight. So the audience view is going to show you Tommy Tommy. It'll have an opposite view on the left and Teddy Bear on the right. You can see the countdown. You can see the number of warnings. If this was team sparring, you would see the number of wins. So we're going to go back to operator view. And on the operator view, we're going to continue. We've got about a minute left on the clock. And let's say Tommy Tommy did something really bad and did a really nasty illegal hit. And so the center judge says, yep, minus point. So Tommy Tommy gets a minus point. And we're going to continue through the end of the round. And I'm going to stop and I'm going to pretend that this round has stopped. And I'm going to reset it, but I'm going to pretend that, hey, the match has ended and we're going to go ask the corner refs for their pronouncements. And so right now we're going to say that for this round, we're going to give Teddy Bear is going to get 3 points from the corner judges. There were no deductions for warning points. And then Tommy Tommy actually only gets, they got 1 point from one center judge declared them the winner after applying the minus points all the way around. So in this case, we did not have a draw. And so we're going to say that Hung wins. I'm going to select Hung wins. And it says, are you sure this competitor is the winner? And I'm going to say, yes, I am sure. It's going to tell me that Teddy Bear was the winner. And then now it's going to rotate to the next match. So now we've got Bob Bobby and George. The timer will automatically be set from what it is before, so we don't need to worry about that. We do need to update the rest time to a minute, just in case this was a final, but it's not, so it's not going to use it. And so now we're going to start this new match, and we're going to go here, and it's going to go forward. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to pretend like that round ended. And in this scoring match, we're going to say, you know what? 2 judges said Bobby Bob won, and 2 judges said George won. So now we're in a draw. So at this point, what we're going to do, we would zero out any warnings, any minus points. We are going to put a minute on the clock here. So we're going to set that to a minute. We're going to give them a minute to rest. We're going to let this clock go while they're resting because they're in a draw round. And now we're going to pretend like they're at the end of the rest round, it would gong, but we're going to stop this. We're going to reset the clock. And so the rest has happened. And now we're going to start the draw match. So we're going to hit extension. The draw match is going to go for 2 minutes, and we're going to hit start. And that's going to continue, and they're going to fight. So everything else was canceled out as far as the warnings and the minus points. And at that point, we should have also zeroed out the number of points for the fighters. So now we're going, and let's say we stop. And so in this case, when the center ref calls for the corner judges, let's say we had no warnings and no minus points this round, and we're going to say that Bobby Bob won 3-1, and that was the score. So in this case, we would say Hong wins. And once again, it's going to ask you, are you sure? And we're going to go to the next winner. So the only difference between this and if we were to do team pattern sparring is for team pattern sparring, instead of capturing red or blue in these big boxes, we capture the wins for each match within the win boxes. And this concludes the video for sparring scorekeeping using the clickers. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will answer them at the end of the Zoom session. And then also look forward, we will be using the electronic devices for scoring. And please take a look at that video, because although the main functionality is very similar, there are changes in how warnings and minus points are applied and the real-time updates with the electronic devices. Thank you.